We sold some stuff on the internet this weekend and we're gonna be boxing it up. Let's see what it is. Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel. My name is Mel. This is my silly Billy husband, Adine, and it is Monday morning and we are going to be doing another What Sold This Weekend. We had over $1,200 in sales and we're gonna go over what everything was.
There's 3 sales in particular that kind of saved the weekend, as it was abysmal. Is that the right word?
Yeah, I would say that.
It felt so slow. It really felt like there was times where we were just like, what's going on here? And on Sunday morning, we put up over 30 listings. So we're like, well, this will give it a boost. Nope, something happened, but that's okay. That's how eBay does. I mean, that's just reselling in general. There's no guarantees. It's just a constant, up and down. It's just the average, right? It's all about the average.
Yeah, so we ended up doing well. Ended up doing kind of a normal weekend, so that's great. And let's go over what everything was.
Yeah.
So if you're new to our channel, one of the things that we really love selling are vintage appliances, pots and pans, old housewares, right? People love the quality of them. They're looking for replacement parts or they're just looking for a good quality piece. They're usually made in USA, which people also like. So the first thing we sold this weekend was this vintage Sunbeam blender. It's very cool. It's got a chrome look to it. We do have a lid somewhere. It's just not up here right now. Different settings. Sunbeam and Oster are the 2 pretty well-known vintage brands that we sell a lot of, especially these glass pitchers. They always do well with those as well. We picked this up at either an estate sale or Goodwill. We can't remember which one, but it was $7 and we sold it for $50. Next, we sold a part to a Cuisinart Custom 11 Pro. We've sold a couple parts of these already. It's just a high-end food processor. This is, I think, the 3rd or 4th piece to sell, and we only listed it a week ago, approximately. And it's just the extra sleeve. This part comes apart, it goes down, and it has the pusher to it. This piece by itself, we probably have a couple bucks into it. The whole thing was $7, and this part alone sold for $35. So this is a vintage Pyrex bowl. It came with a lot that we got a while ago. We've already sold the main pieces of that. These are just the stragglers now that we have left in our store. This one we have about $6 into and it sold for $30. So last weekend we went over a Revereware lot that we sold that we had pieced together from pieces that we had already had in our store that had been sitting for a while. Well, this weekend, same thing, but it was a set of Farberware. We probably have about 20 to 25 into this whole set, and it sold this weekend for $120. It sold pretty quickly after we took all the Farberware we had in our store, brought it out, looked at it, and made another set that was just more appealing with different size pots, pans, bigger ones, smaller ones, and some skillets. So remember just to constantly be looking at your inventory, thinking about if it's sitting for a while, is there anything I can do to spruce it up? And one thing with pots and pans is to create lots. So we're very happy to see this out the door this weekend. Adine's gonna come back and go over the next set of items.
Another category that we do really well with are video games. So video games, they're kind of tricky if you're not used to them, but after you kind of get the hang of them, they can be pretty easy and very profitable. Some individual games sell for a lot of money, upwards to $100+. Most of them are in that $20 range, and a ton of them are really cheap. So what we do is we sell the games that are worth $15 roughly or more individually, and then all the ones that are cheaper games that are worth $5 to $10, we bundle them up with the consoles. The question that we get often is, well, do you test this stuff? And the answer is yes. We have all of the consoles except for, right now we don't have a Sega Genesis, we don't have a Nomad, some of those very unique, hard to find ones, but we have Xboxes, PlayStations 1, 2, 3, we have all the consoles. So when we sell these electronics, we want to make sure that we're confident that everything works before we get any complaints, issues, negative feedback returns. So with that said, we listed and sold 3 individual Wii bundles. We have roughly, let's call it $50 per bundle, as honestly they sold so fast that I didn't have a chance to account for them yet. So these were all listed Friday night. We made a $120, $110, and $100 bundle based off of the types of games and the condition of the systems and what you got into them. So these are the three that sold. We sold the console, all the paperwork, or I'm sorry, all the wires that we need, the joysticks, some of the Wii Motion Plus, the rubber sleeves, and games. That's one set. This one sold for $100. This one had a little bit of a flaw, as these flaps were a little bit loose, so that was disclosed, and that's why the price was a little bit lower. This set over here, again, you got the Wii, the stand, some games. These are all, cheaper games. Nunchucks. This one actually came with nunchucks and Motion Plus adapters. So this one sold for $110. And then this one over here sold for $120. It had this little case, it had all the cables again, nunchuck sleeves, and so on and so forth. So those are three. Nintendo Wii's, you can commonly find them on Facebook Marketplace. That's typically where we source them. So what we do is we'll buy a big lot of them, separate all the stuff that's worth money individually, and then bundle up the rest and get them out of here. Another system console that we sold is this original Nintendo. So this is the original Nintendo Entertainment System. I think they were made in 87 or 88. I probably could just look. This one has, 85 stamp on it. So this is another one that we bundled up with all of the cables, 2 remotes, a specialty remote, a Game Genie, which is just an enhancer, and then a bunch of games. These games individually are only worth, I think the maximum value of these is maybe $10 for Tetris. Everything else is worth like $3 to $7. So we bundle them all up and put them with the console. We also put Mario 1, 2, and 3. These are very appealing titles, and there's some value. I think together Mario 1, 2, and 3 go between $30 and $50. Don't quote me on that, as it's been a while since I looked up the 3-game bundle. Anyways, we paid $100 for all of this, plus some more games that we're selling individually because they have value. This all sold together for $250, and it sold within 2 days. So super happy to get this out of here so quickly. And from this bundle, we sold one individual game. This is Double Dragon 2, The Revenge. And with the original sleeve, this one sold for $18. Again, every game that's worth about $15 or more, we pieced apart and we listed those separately for sale. 2 more electronics sold this weekend for us. We have about $1 into this remote. It sold for $18 shipped. It's for a old school CRT TV. And then we also have this DVD VHS combo unit from Panasonic that sold for $75. We have about 25 into it with repairs and their initial purchasing cost. It'll be about $15 to ship it, as it's only going down to Kentucky. So we live in Michigan, down to Kentucky is just a couple of states. It's pretty cheap to ship this stuff, especially if you're using UPS or FedEx, especially if it's going in your region. Melinda's going to come right back. She's going to cover the shoes and clothes that sold this weekend.
So a few clothing sales this weekend, which makes sense. We're not huge clothing sellers, so it's sort of sprinkled in here and there through our sales. We sold this pair of Express jeans. The Alex Skinny, they sold very quick after listing, a couple days, maybe a week. And we picked jeans up for $5 at our local thrift, and these sold for $35. So we also sold this pair of pink yoga leggings, elastic waist. They have the pink spell out at the bottom, and again, full length, which always sells better for us than the crop or capri. These were $4 at our local thrift, and we sold them for $25. And of course, they'll ship first class because they're very light. We also sold this Madewell open front cardigan. This is a viewer sale. It's a really great cardigan, very nice. And we don't have anything into it, and it sold for $30. This is an Etsy sale. We picked this up this summer. It is an authentic vintage 1970s old Detroit Lions varsity jacket. Really awesome condition and just a really cool piece. They do make reprints now of that old logo, but having authentic vintage is just nicer, I think. So this sold, we picked it up for a whole 25 cents, and it sold this weekend for $115. That's probably our best sale this weekend in terms of net profit. And then the last two pieces, These are Nike skate shoes. Pretty sweet. They're Mavericks. They sold for $35, and we don't have anything into these. Our neighbor gave these to us when they were moving. So I guess ex-neighbor. So $35. And then these we picked up for $6 at our thrift store. These are the Chuck Taylor style Converse, and this colorway just always seems to do really well for us. And the high tops do better than the regular flat ones as well. So something to keep in mind if you see them. These sold for $50 this weekend. That's it for everything that sold. Adina's gonna finish this video off with a couple packing tips and then the numbers at the end.
Here's a packing tip. This is the Nintendo Wii bundle that we sold. This one came with the carrying case, which does have padding around it. So what I did is I bubble wrapped the unit, just the console, and put it in here so it has a nice cushion around it. All of the other components, the nunchucks, everything else, I just individually bubble wrapped everything so that it does not bang against one another and potentially damage it. And then I used the video games as honestly even more padding and protection on the side. Since the games come in these hard cases, they're not likely to break unless there's severe damage to the box, which then, well, at that point, you know, everything's going to get damaged. If that does happen, then we can, of course, work with the buyer and work out some sort of deal. I mean, if the cases get cracked, we have extra ones, we can always send them, but we've never had any issues doing it this way. And then honestly, it's just about playing Tetris and making sure that everything fits right. So this fits nice and snug. There's not going to be a lot of gaps, and we can just close it up. And of course, make sure you label your boxes ahead of time so that you know which one is going to which buyer. This is Wii bundle number 1, and it's the $120 set. So pretty easy for the Wii set. The next packing tip is going to be this blender. Now these blenders are bulky, right? But they're really not that tough. So what we do is we typically separate them. We'll bubble wrap each component. So we'll bubble wrap the glass and the base or the motor. This is very well built stuff. I mean, this is very thick glass, rigid plastic. So of all the ones we've sold, we've never had any damage claims on them. What we'll do is just bubble wrap them, you know, relatively well, and just use this again, this 12 by 12 by 8 USPS priority mail large mailing box. Let me bubble wrap this, fit it in here, used craft paper to make sure that there's no space, and tape it up. It's a pretty simple thing to pack, especially once you've done them a couple of times. Took me a second to figure out the right orientation to get these in here. They fit really nice. There's a little bit of a gap. You can see the little bounce here, so I'm just going to fill it with craft paper, tape it up, and that's it. Next up, the numbers for the weekend. The numbers. Gross sales, $1,216. That's the total amount that we sold, including shipping. Remember, we pay for shipping. Cost of goods, $334. We got some pretty expensive stuff. You know, the 3 Nintendo bundles and the Nintendo original entertainment system. That's $250 roughly allocated just for those. So $334 cost of goods. Shipping, $145 roughly. This is rounded a couple of pennies. Fees, roughly 13% across all platforms. You know, it's just an approximate, $158. Which leaves us a net profit of $579, which is pretty good for a weekend, you know, 3 days. But that dang tax man, he comes around, he takes $144, you know, for police stations and roads and, you know, stuff that everyone complains about, but we must have, so you have to pay your taxes. That means that we made $435 in cash after everything was deducted, right? So that means all the cost of goods, the fees, the actual amount we made, the net profit minus the taxes. So $435 selling mostly used stuff on the internet. Not a bad way to make some extra cash. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. We really do appreciate you tagging along. Pretty weird weekend for us overall. Literally the last 3 sales came at like 11, 11:30, and 11:45 last night, which kind of saved the weekend.
Big time. Yeah, it was, the last one was that $250 NES sale, and that kind of pushed us over the $1,000 mark. So very happy with that sale.
Yeah, there were times, honestly, where we were like, did we get suspended off of eBay? Like, did they just take our listings down? Like, what's going on here? This weekend is just another reminder that, you know, as a reseller, you have to understand that there's going to be ups and downs. It's never constant. You can do the best you can to be consistent by consistently listing and having a high amount of listings up. But it doesn't matter, because it's, at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter. There's no guarantees. That's why it's so important to budget, especially if you're considering doing this full time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the best thing to do is just tell yourself, keep going, keep listing, keep cleaning, keep sourcing if you're able to, and it'll correct itself.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have these like $200 sales days and then $700 sales day, and it's like, what's the difference? So it's just important to keep in mind for the last time for this video, the average.
That's right. If you liked this content, if you found value in this, please give us the thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. That'll do it for us for today. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Bye-bye. The next packing tip is going to be this blender. Now these blenders are bulky, right? But they're really not that tough. So what we do is we typically separate them. We'll bubble wrap each component. So we'll bubble wrap the glass and the base or the motor. This is very well built stuff. I mean, this is very thick glass, rigid plastic. So of all the ones we've sold, we've never had any damage claims on them. But what we'll do is just what we'll do is just bubble wrap them, relatively well, and just use this again, this 12 by 12 by 8 USPS priority mail large mailing box. So let me bubble wrap this, fit it in here, used craft paper to make sure that there's no space, and tape it up. It's a pretty simple thing to pack, especially if you've done a couple of them. It's a pretty simple thing to pack, especially once you've done them a couple of times. Took me a second to figure out the right orientation to get these in here. They fit really nice. There's a little bit of a gap. You can see the little bounce here, so I'm just going to fill it with craft paper, tape it up, and that's it. Next up, the numbers for the weekend.